Today was all about the Connacht Senior Football Championship, and the start of the competition saw Mayo visit Park Sean McDermott in Carrick-on-Shannon, and it wasn't to be for Terry Hyland's men. They were beaten 2-15 to 10 points despite a very spirited and promising performance from a Leitrim side against one of the best sides in Gaelic games over the last 10 years or so. Now, I asked Aidan Rooney to join me for a chat about the game and where he thought Leitrim football was at this point in time. We had a few technical issues at the start of the video, which is why I'm doing a separate introduction here, but I'll share the conversation I had with Aidan with you now. Aidan, your thoughts initially on the defeat today?
Disappointed, Breifne, I suppose. We did a lot of good things. We started the game, at a real tempo. We got stuck into Mayo. We definitely upset them early in the game. We got into an early lead, put them under a lot of pressure. Then we conceded a goal. I suppose from Terry's point of view, he'd have been happy with the start. He'd have been happy with everything he laid out to do. So overall, the first half was probably, as much as we could have hoped for. To win, not far behind at half time, very competitive in the game, was a decent position to be in, coming from where the two teams are at present.
Of course, you mentioned where the two teams are, and you can't forget that Mayo are one of the strongest teams over the last decade or so in the whole country. They've been in All-Ireland finals, All-Ireland semi-finals on a regular basis. Leitrim, a very different story in recent years. Division 4 for the most part, with one little flurry into Division 3, and really haven't really won a championship game of note in probably the best part of 2 decades. In terms of the performance, are you happy with where Leitrim are, given the resources that we have available to us?
I am, yeah. We have to be realistic. I suppose the challenge to the players now, Terry has done a great job over the last couple of years. He followed on from Benny, who did good work. Good work has been done. The players, I suppose, it's down to them now at this stage. If they want to really, take it on and push to another level, they certainly can. The talent is there. There's certainly enough talent there. I suppose that's the big question, Breifne. Is there a will there now among the group to take this performance today, take their Division 3 performance, during the league? We're very unlucky, not to maybe, stay in Division 3, what we had intended to do. Are the players willing to go after this now as a group, stay together, keep working at it? That's really the question, I suppose, that they have to ask themselves. And if they are, and they're willing to work with whatever management team, I'm sure, and hopefully Terry will prolong his tenure in Leitrim, to keep going with the work that he has started, but try and improve his panel, get all the best players committed to play. I'd be more positive today, than negative.
Yeah, because one of the big surprises today was that it was Mayo who had the 7 or 8 championship debuts today. We only had, you could count them in one hand. I think Donald Casey made his first start, and Tom Pryor came on, and I don't think anyone else was playing their first championship game. And that's really testament to what Terry's put into that squad over the last 2 years, because normally in Leitrim we have 5 or 6 lads every year making their championship debuts. Yeah,
well, I suppose Leitrim had a kind of a purple patch underage a few years ago, where they came through with a couple of minor teams back to back. Those lads are now coming to their mid-20s. So now is the time for Leitrim to be striking and working with those two panels and making sure that we're getting the most out of them. At the minute, you might feel we're probably not getting the most out of them. The fellas haven't gotten as far on as we'd like them to get, but the potential is there. Those two minor teams were certainly as strong as anything was in Connacht at the time. So the platform is there at the moment, but the players have to. I suppose you look at the game today in the second half in particular. There is a difference in fitness levels. There's a difference in physique and conditioning. There's no question. Like, we're not a million miles away, but we're definitely not at the same level. So I suppose that's something that can be rectified. The players themselves can have ownership of themselves and can decide to make themselves as fit and as strong and as proficient tactically and skills wise as they possibly can. And if Leitrim take this on, which today I suppose it was Cora Staunton said it several times in commentary. Leitrim never died, but that's part and parcel of what we do in Leitrim. We do give her all the time, and that's something that's never in question, really. So that's kind of condescending a little bit, but the reality is that if the players as a group gel from this and move on, we can certainly make progress next year. And we have to get out of Division 4 again next year. We have to hit straight back and get up, because the only way you're going to contend with these Mayos and the better teams, is by playing a higher standard. You cannot come out of Division 4 every year try and compete at championship level with the best teams. It's just not possible. You have to get up to a level where you're playing a better standard of league football more regularly, where players get to grow in better conditions against better teams, against better players. And that's really the curve. And unfortunately for Terry and the group, we just lost out to Tipperary last weekend. That Division 3 status was really important to keep. We've lost it. We have to get it back as quickly as we possibly can.
In terms of, I suppose, the bigger picture for Leitrim, what were the bright sparks from today? Because there was plenty of things to really be positive about.
There was. I was very impressed. I was very impressed with Leitrim's intensity in the game, with the way they defended, heroically at times, although maybe naively at times, but we defended really well at times. And I thought Mark Lunkus to spend a bit of the field was something we hadn't seen from Mark in a while. He did very well. I think Leitrim, even through the second half, Mayo were breaking very fast, but Leitrim had midfield dominance. Leitrim won an awful lot of the ball in the middle of the field, either cleanly or on second phase ball, which was very, heartening, because Mayo normally in that area of the pitch would be ruthless as a Division 1 stroke Division 2 team. They'd be winning everything in there as regards aggression and physicality. But Leitrim won an awful lot of that ball today. I thought Conor Dolan was excellent. Keith Byrne was excellent again today. We showed sparks up front where we could create chances, and we did create chances. I suppose we were unfortunate for a couple of occasions. We had goal chances maybe that we didn't possibly spot or see at the time in the heat of battle. But there was a lot of positives in our attacking. We did have chances today. We weren't depending on lucky breaks. Like, we created some good play. We ran hard at Mayo. Kelly McGlone from wing half back had a very good performance. Jack Heaney is learning like that. He hasn't played that much football at this level. We have enough of it. But Aidan Flynn has progressed on to a really dangerous attacking defender, as Paddy Maguire has been that way for all his career. A lot of positives in today's game. Just naming a few players. If Donald Rinn, can get himself up to the peak level of fitness, I suppose, that he can be at. He's a big man, big player. Shane Moran wasn't playing today. So I suppose, Breifne Leitrim played today without some of their key players. McGovern's, Shane Moran not available. Ryan O'Rourke obviously not available. So we went into the game today probably missing as many key players as Mayo were. You said about Mayo starting, with their players, 7 newcomers in the team. Like, Leitrim, to be fair, had newcomers to Championship Bar 2, but we didn't have our full plan available to us either, which, I suppose at the end of the day, that's the reality. Like, we needed everybody available to us to bring, the game to another level. But like, we were within, striking distance of Mayo for long periods in the game. You could see there a little bit of class in the second half. Killian O'Connor had probably one of his better championship games for a long time for Mayo. Well, better games. He hadn't played much all year for them. So they need him back, obviously, and they were saying that. But, Leitrim today, minus the players that could have been on the pitch, we performed, enough. There's enough in that performance for me to say, we can push on from here. There wasn't that kind of negativity at the end of the game to say, okay, we're a million miles away here with no hope. But that's not where we are.
There was a lot of talk pre-game about the impact of the likes of Aidan O'Shea, and to be honest, he got 2 points, both from play, but both in the last 7 or 8 minutes of the game. He was pretty much nullified by that full back line of Leitrim's.
I'd be more worried if I was James Horn, exactly. Aidan O'Shea is an absolutely pivotal player for Mayo. And the fact they left him on the square today, inside and tried to get ball into him, well, maybe a tactic that they might use. I suppose there is something here, Breifne, that kind of no one is has talked about. Only we saw the games today on television. Conditions are poor. This is winter conditions now. So the type of football played, particularly in the area around the championship, when you're playing in grounds like, Ballybuffet today, the Donegal game, Carrick and Shannon, conditions are poor. Underfoot conditions, ground is heavy. So it's not normal championship football. It's championship football played in league conditions of old. So I suppose Aidan O'Shea in the square was tactically very good, but Leitrim managed that very well. Mayo didn't get the amount of ball into him. The fact that Killian O'Connor stepped up today, he became the danger rather than O'Shea, as the pivotal danger. If we could have handled Killian O'Connor a little bit better, maybe it would have put Mayo under more pressure. Because Mayo in the past, they've been seen to wilt, particularly their younger players, on big days. But the younger players today, I suppose Killian kind of led the show, so it made it easier for the younger lads around them to play. But I would say, yeah, Aidan O'Shea was handled very well. One of the Mayo key players that we would have looked at before the game and said, we're going to be in a lot of trouble here trying to handle this. But we handled that well, and that was something, I suppose, another positive out of the game from Terry's point of view.
In terms of keeping the score down towards the end, how good was the goalkeeper, Brendan Flynn? He just pulled off some unbelievable saves.
he was superb. And to be fair to him, he wasn't fighting a lone battle, but Mayo were going to break us down, at some stage, because the pace of play that Mayo were at was a different level of pace than we were at. We played at a Division 3, Division 4 pace. Mayo played at Division 1 pace. Their transmission from defence to attack was really quick. They got the ball through the hands. So they created a chance, but Brendan made a couple of outstanding saves. To be fair, Mayo probably were a couple of goals short, but then Leitrim probably were a couple of goals as well. They had a couple of chances in the game, but we could have, so I suppose on balance, the final score then was probably reflective of the overall game. But Brendan was superb. I thought his kickouts in the second half in particular were very, very good. He got the distance on the kickouts for 90% of them, and we won most of them, either on first phase or second phase ball, which was very impressive from that point of view, because that's an area, I suppose, that Leitrim perennially against a stronger team might have struggled, in that middle area and the breaking ball and that. But today we were very good there.
Yeah, two other things I want to wrap up with quickly. How disappointing is it for this group of players and this management team that there's no qualifiers to really get possibly two or even three good championship games under their belt, depending, of course, on how the draw might have gone?
The jury is out, Breifne, for me on that. I'm still not convinced that the qualifier system, it's there. I played in the first qualifier game back in 2001. And if you look at history over the last 20 years or 19 years since that, have the teams in the lower tiers progressed? Has the gap closed? This was the intention of the backdoor system, or supposed to be, that the gap would close between the top and the bottom. There'd be better championship games for the lower tier teams to bring them on in championship. I think the gap has widened, and the gap for me now is further than it's ever been between the top and the bottom teams. So in my opinion, the backdoor system has failed. It's flawed in the sense that it's suiting the bigger teams, giving them more chances. Tyrone are the ones today are going to be the ones licking their wounds, because traditionally Tyrone would come back in the back door and probably go to maybe the Super 8 through that back door. Today they're gone. From Leitrim's point of view, is it any worse? I don't think it's any worse off, Breifne. I know the point you're making, and you're saying, more football for us. But at the end of the day, today we had our crack in Carrick and Shannon against Mayo. We weren't good enough. We're not good enough at the moment. That's fine. If we were to play this format going forward again, and have the big championship day, are we any worse off than we would have been over the years? I haven't seen the evidence watching football the last 19 years at intercounty level. I haven't seen the evidence to suggest that the system is working. Is given the teams like Leitrim and the teams in lower tier better championship opportunities going forward against the bigger teams. I don't think it has. I think there's nobody can argue that case, because we haven't progressed the way this system was supposed to be, inverted commas, set up to produce. But the bigger teams have progressed and have stayed in championships longer. So it's benefited the stronger teams, certainly, but it hasn't benefited the weaker teams. So on that point, yeah, it'd be nice to get more games, but I don't think it's benefited us.
Yeah, and finally, I suppose what most people will be looking at now, season is over, we lick our wounds, we look at kind of relatively disappointing season on the results front, but very promising on the performances outlook. But if we're at Leitrim GA, or if you're in Leitrim GA committee next couple of weeks as they're looking to next year, Terry Hyland, is that someone you want to have back involved in that team and running that team again next year?
I think very much, I would see absolutely no reason in the world for change, Leitrim's point of view. If Terry Hyland is going to commit, or willing to commit to the Leitrim cause, and Jason Riley, then I said I have absolutely no issue whatsoever. The team has made progress over the last couple of seasons. There's no question about that. We have made progress, but now, I suppose, making progress on where we are, it is disappointing. Division 4 is disappointing. Were we good enough? We probably ended up on the balance where we are. So now it's up to us to kind of push on and change that, and up to players to take personal responsibility themselves, make themselves better, as good as they can make themselves, to try and push this thing. It's not going to be easy, Breifne, I suppose. That's something that nowadays, we allude to the bigger teams. Like, these guys are working so hard, and I'm not saying all our players aren't working hard, but we have to get everybody up to the same level of working hard. We have some exemplary examples of county footballers, but everybody has to get up to the same level, and that's the challenge. The challenge is, regardless whether it's Terry Hyland or anybody else, the players have to take ownership of this themselves, and they have to push the bar up as far as they possibly can, make themselves as good as they possibly can be. I would still believe the talent is in Leitrim. The talent is there if the players buy into this. And, we have shown signs in the last 2 years, we've shown signs that we're getting into the mix, that we are, hanging around the lower edges of Division 3, capable. Now the aim should be get right back into Division 3 as quickly as possible, give our younger players the platform to play at a higher level, and just go after it. I suppose at the end of the day, Breifne, we can sit in lick our wounds and we can say, poor us, or we can get down to it and we can say, look, let's change this and let's make our own history and all that kind of stuff that would have been there before. And let's make our own history and get back at it. I certainly think potential is there in the county if everybody buys into it.
Absolutely. Listen, Aidan, thank you so much. You've been there, done that, bought the jersey, got the medal, the whole lot for over the years. Thanks very much for sharing your thoughts after another, I suppose, championship campaign comes to a close today in Carrick-on-Shannon.
Thanks, William Breifne. Thanks very much.